All right, let's look at the S&P. So the S&P, we can appreciate that, we technically were overbought and we're kind of trading laterally into the 50-day moving average, and the 50-day moving average is actually holding. We can appreciate that as prices are rallying, that there is a negative selling imbalance. There is selling in the strength. I haven't shown this before in here because I was afraid a lot of people would end up shorting the hole, and I think that would be a mistake because my observation is that this is a nice bullish spring, and we talked about that. There's another spring that's here. This is an up thrust. We'll cover these things technically later. But I kind of feel like bulls are successfully absorbing the supply that's present. And if I just loosely put out there's a big selling imbalance, that people are going to short into a hole and put themselves in a dangerous situation. You can appreciate that, yes, there's a selling imbalance. But if you look at it in relationship here, it's actually the selling imbalance has stopped. It's flat. So we did have a selling imbalance, selling in the strength that's here, but it looks like it's subsided into this 50-day moving average. So that's something to take note of. We still have supply. And even though, if we have a bullish thesis and we think prices are going to rally away, so long as there's supply that's here, we're going to have to continue to test this area until there's no more supply. So even if we rally through here, and even if we make new highs, we're going to have to come back down here and revisit this area. You have to take that consideration of the duration and the trades that you're taking. Let's look at so this is a 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart shows a gross supply here. Prices break down, but we'll rally up. This is that spring that we're talking at. This looks like a selling climax, automatic reaction, a spring or a secondary test. This would be a secondary reaction. Maybe this is a sign of strength. And now we're just kind of consolidating. But this lets us evaluate the selling imbalance a little closely. And it really is flat. There might actually be a little bit of a buying imbalance that's there up until the close. So I really don't know what to make of it. We can appreciate some buying here, and the buying kind of contracted, and now we're seeing some selling. But even now, selling is kind of indecisive. So really, there's just not a lot of information here that's helping us. I think ultimately we may end up just dropping again to look for bids and test this area. So we do have a spring that's present. We haven't really officially tested it, so I would not be surprised if we don't drop back down and test that spring before we consider rallying higher. And just for the sake of going through it, because we've done so with the other charts, this is the daily session 15-minute chart. We saw, prices drop, big block trade. Bottom line, it's flat on the day. There's no imbalances that are here. Not a lot of information. But if we see prices are dropping here, so prices are dropping, we rally away. I guess the only thing I can appreciate here is on this drop here, as prices are falling, you can appreciate that volume is expanding. And I think that's reflected here at the selling pressure that's here. So anytime we have prices falling on expanding volume, that's a little bearish. I guess I might suggest that prices are going to probably gap down, retest this low before we do anything. I'm really indecisive here. And that's kind of why I go back to, this little chart that's here. I reviewed this a couple times. This might be preliminary supply, buying climax, automatic reaction, secondary test. Might be a sign of weakness. I think we're seeing some bullish absorption, but now we're getting tired with all the political news, all the conflict that's going on. People are just really indecisive, and I think in the context of that, we may have to dip the fine participation. My bias is that we trade sideways, but if this is an actual spring and this is a spring, that would suggest that we're kind of pushing a beach ball underwater. I guess one of the finer points I might say is that here's our spring here and here's the close. We can appreciate the closing price there. We rallied away, which was rejected. We lost that closing price, but you can still appreciate that the closes are slightly higher. So although, we have some selling pressure that's here, we continue to get higher closes. That still suggests that we're seeing some bullish absorption that's present. You have to respect that. So in the context of this, even regardless of the information that I showed you previously, I'm a little biased here that even if there is a dip, so long as these closes continue higher, that we're going to rally back up, probably test this this little bullish ascending channel is forming here. And that may be a last point of supply before we break down further. It's a little too early to tell, but we'll see.